would totally agree. If I were a GM, especially for the Miami Dolphins today, if Tua falls to 5, pick Tua. Don't even ask the questions. I think if you're the Dolphins, I've heard rumors that they want to trade up for an offensive tackle. I don't think that makes sense. They already have some pretty good offensive linemen on the team. Really, the main position that's missing right now for that team, it's not a horrible, horrible team as it was last year, is the quarterback position. Do we have somebody that can really inspire change in our franchise? Herbert's a guy, it's kind of like if you're drafting like a Josh Allen, maybe it's like you're not going to expect that high of a ceiling. But with Tua, while the risk is very high, and we're not really sure exactly what the injury extent, although the reports that have come out recently have been pretty positive, you have to say. I would definitely pick Tua. I think he's the kind of quarterback that your fans can rally around. It's a franchise that hasn't had much hope of late. Tua would definitely bring that hope. Whether or not it manifests itself over the years, that's the question mark. But I think if you're the Dolphins, you have to take some risks. You've been known, like, for example, you didn't take Drew Brees in that free agency offer years ago. It's like you've been kind of known for being conservative on these offers. I think this is a time to really make the move.
Yeah, and also very importantly, and I think Herbert and Allen are perfect comps. Both inconsistent decision-making, both inconsistent accuracy, both seem capable of making good throws and great athletes. I think there's a fair argument that Herbert is the best athlete, even better than Tua, of the first-round prospects, better than Love, and probably maybe outside of Hurts and some of the later-round guys, although Cole McDonald, I don't think should be a later-round guy, but we'll get to that on day 2. But of the early-round guys, he's probably the best athlete. I agree. And the other thing – now, I understand, though – to me, this is a smokescreen. I think you're kind of on the same page here, that Miami's worried about someone trading up above them at 5 as the pick is in for the Bengals. I mean, we'll stop when the announcement is made. And they're worried about someone leapfrogging them who wants Tua. And so, to me, this reads just like a team that's saying, we want Herbert, so no one leapfrogs them to draft Tua. And then if they're sitting at 5, don't have to use up any of their draft capital and get Tua. I would be tentative to move up unless if I'm at 5 and it would cost me the 26th overall pick to move to 3, I understand why they'd be cautious to do that. Like I wouldn't want to trade up for a player like Tua because of the injury risk as much as I love him. Like, and again, part of this is just a mental block. Like, it's not a value thing. It's just like, I understand the idea is like, if Tua falls to me versus I'm making the jump for him, it just feels different. It just does for me. And so if he falls to me at 5, I'm taking him. I mean, but I honestly wouldn't have that much of a problem if I'm sitting at 3 or 4, even taking him either. To me, the Dolphins, I got to say this, if they don't take Tua, and let's put it this way. The assumption is they take a quarterback. If they don't take a quarterback, Tua or Herbert's going to fall to 15. Like, I can't see them not taking a quarterback. That suggests that Tua has some pretty big medical red flags. If they take Herbert over Tua, I don't get it. And if they take Tua, it makes sense.
I don't know if it would necessarily be because Tua has red flags. I just think it's because they maybe don't trust how things are going right now. Maybe they don't trust the medical evaluation. The evaluations from everything we've heard has been pretty good. The workout video looked pretty good. It's like, I think it might just be more being gun shy, basically, to pull the trigger.
But I don't blame a team. I don't blame a team for not wanting their medical personnel to evaluate a player. Like, that is a legitimate concern. And again, these videos, right? We don't get the whole thing. The agent procures them. But there's Tua in Alabama. I got to say, Tua's, I believe, siblings behind him do not seem very keen on they don't seem very excited at the moment. It seems like they have to sit still and watch this. But
gotta appreciate, I don't know how they got those mileways. I don't know if they were from Hawaii or Samoa or something, but gotta love the touch. He could be the next face of Polynesian football, which is really cool. Us being from Hawaii. We saw a lot of Tua in high school. I remember I took you to a game one time, and you had never heard of Tua before. I had heard about Tua. This was like, I think it's
the John Bosco game.
Yeah,
so we were broadcasting him.
Look for this guy and tell me if I'm crazy or not. And you're like, yeah, this guy's a talent. Like, I remember he like he looked very Johnny Manziel in his prime during that game. Like, he was circling around, like throwing these really deep passes. Now, he's going to have to learn a little bit better decision making. He can't make the big play every time,
Slide.
avoid the injury, slide, throw the ball away. Tua is so talented that sometimes that talent gets in his way.
Exactly.
And we saw that at Alabama a lot. Who will his coach be, and can that coach rein that in a little bit, make him a better NFL quarterback?
He's a different kind of player than Cam Newton, but it's the same kind of thing where Newton had such powerful athleticism. I think that got him in trouble. As the pick is in, so Miami is not moving the pick. Not that that's a surprise, but I remember because we got to call this. This is one of the first. I mean, it was a pretty cool experience looking back on. It was Josh Rosen in town.
I didn't even think about that, honestly.
And the other quarterback was a guy named Ryder Coons, who just won State Player of the Year before. John Bosco's blowing St. Louis out. They put this backup in who was young. We heard a lot about Tua. Tua actually moved the offense against John Bosco. And then by the end of that season, less than a year later, I mean, again, I saw the most impressive things I've ever seen on a football field. Now, granted, I haven't seen a lot of NFL games in person, but have been Tua evading pressure and showing off his arm. It's just his precision accuracy on deep balls is really just incredible. His accuracy in general.
And the other thing to look at too, if you look back at his high school team, no offense to these guys, none of his receivers really became anything in college, or never even really got a chance to play in college. Maybe they were good enough. Who knows? Even his offensive line, nobody really, except for maybe Nate Herbig, nobody really ever became anything at a higher level. Obviously, this is probably, if Tua gets picked to the Dolphins, that's probably the most newsworthy pick of this draft. First of all, I have to text my friend. I'm gonna give my friend a shout out. She's a lifelong Miami Dolphins fan. I gotta tell her, you just got a new fan here. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Tua is. I mean, again, he was the consensus number one pick coming into the year. Obviously, you have the injuries, as ESPN's showing that right now. You have a long list of them. But if you're Miami, listen, Brian Flores has impressed me. In that 1 year, he deserves some Coach of the Year votes with what he did last year, with how little talent he had, made that team competitive in a way that it wasn't beat the Patriots the last week of the regular season when the Patriots had something to play for with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback. Fitzpatrick is also not a bad guy to have play and start and fill in for Tua, but they added Byron Jones this offseason at cornerback alongside Xavier Howard, who made one of the highest paid corners as well. That's a really good defense. That offense, we'll see them address it and probably hopefully add a few more weapons for him in due time. But I got to say, if you're the Dolphins, you feel really good. And I've got to say, I'm also surprised we haven't seen much movement on the trade front. And so you wonder now, Chargers sitting at 6, do they go with Herbert? Everyone's been mocking that. I just don't think if I'm the Chargers, I'm trying to pick a quarterback this early. I actually think Tyrod's a good enough bridge gap, and I understand the excitement thing, but I got to say, you got both Isaiah Simmons and Derek Brown sitting there. Simmons would seem to be an amazing weapon to give them alongside Derwin James. They also got offensive line holes. They signed Brian Bulaga. Maybe they can draft a tackle here, maybe a Jedrick Wills, or Wirfs or Becton. They go that route, but very interesting to see how the Chargers approach this.
Well, I think we should talk about Tua because I think we're in a position where we have some insight that people don't. But, I mean, really, Tua represented for the state of Hawaii an incredible crop of quarterbacks that came out of the high school levels around the same time. You're talking about Tua. You're talking about Mackenzie Milton, who unfortunately got injured at UCF, and who really knows what his football future is. You're talking at the same time a lot of good quarterbacks coming out of the state. Not soon after, Dylan Gabriel, the current quarterback at UCF. Tua was kind of somebody that brought a lot of attention here to Hawaii and really opened the doors for a lot of prospects here because people weren't necessarily looking as closely at football, at high school football in Hawaii, even though it's always been a great product in our opinions. Nobody really was talking about Tua, honestly, but I think we saw how special the talent was, and soon the nation came to recognize him. People were all of a sudden interested in this guy named Tua. And then, obviously, the great breakout moment, I think it was the 2017 national championship game against Georgia. He comes off the bench, replaces Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, that's right. We were watching that.
Comes in and leads them to a national championship. Their offense was anemic, to say the least, throughout the entire game. Tua brought a whole different dimension. And the other thing I think we have to talk about Tua and his legacy in college football is he really changed SEC football probably for good. I don't know if we see something like LSU this past year without Tua. Tua really brought this whole spread, four spread offense to the SEC in a way we had never really seen it before. A conference that obviously was a little bit more run heavy, physical running backs, quarterbacks that were more game managers. All of a sudden, we saw points being put up on SEC scoreboards like we never have in college football.
And we talk about, too, that national championship game is so big. He said openly if he doesn't play in that game, he's transferring to USC at the end of that season. Who knows what the face of the Pac-12, USC, all that is if he does indeed transfer. And if we're sitting here right now, I also love, again, Marcus Mariota is not the starter with the Raiders, but it's very likely he sees playing time. I want to see, if we can get, get Mariota, obviously another local, another Hawaii native. Who went to Oregon.
That would really show you if Mario ever gets an opportunity to play for the Raiders this season, and I don't know what the schedule is. I don't know if the Raiders are playing the Dolphins. I would have to look that up. But if they are,
on it.
and they played against each other, that would be a huge moment for the state of Hawaii. It was already huge to see, like, for example, Tua against Jordan Ta'amu, who's going to be a quarterback for the Chiefs in the SEC. Right. That was a big moment for us. Obviously it brings respect to high school football here and the football talent we produce in this state. We haven't really seen the same level of quarterback since Tua here, and I wouldn't expect to see another Tua or even Marcus anytime soon. But really, it's a big deal here, and you're talking about a guy that it shows you what can be done here. We have basically in the span of 4 years 2 top 5 picks come out of the state.
Yeah, sadly for Hawaii, there's no 2020 game between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Miami Dolphins. Although, granted, we'll see.
And especially if that was in Vegas, oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, granted, there's not going to be fans in this. Hopefully, in the next few years, we can get a matchup between the two in Vegas. That'd be like Hawaii's Super Bowl.
Yeah, and, I noticed I'm seeing Steve Young as a comp on ESPN. I just disagree with that. Tua is athletic, but in very short bursts. Like, he's an athletic first step, really athletic. But he is not a straight line burner. Like, he is not – someone like a young, I don't think Tua really has much potential as a runner. He does have potential as a guy who can extend a play and get out of the pocket and run around back there and evade defensive linemen to find a guy downfield, though. Sort of like Mahomes, right?
If you want to compare Hawaii quarterbacks, actually, Marcus Mariota had that front line speed.
Yeah.
He's one of the faster, raw speed quarterbacks. He was a great high school track runner. Tua was never like that. Tua is very elusive. He didn't run the 40 this year. I can't imagine it would have been super fast. I mean, it would have been okay, but he is very elusive. Like, you can't deny that. Now, sometimes that elusivity, as we talked about a few minutes ago, is what causes him problems at the end of the day. So, like, how will Brian Flores and that staff decide to approach Tua? How are they going to teach him? We don't want you to lose your competitive edge. Obviously Tua has a great competitiveness to him. He wants to throw the 50-yard pass in every down, but that's not really possible in the NFL. You definitely got away with that in high school. You might have gotten away with that in college, but that's not going to happen in the NFL. How are they going to rein him in a little bit and make him a solid NFL quarterback?